Hello, sexy souls, and welcome to another podcast episode of the Move with Love podcast. I am Miranda, your host, healer, and guide, and we have a very special episode today. We have Theron Patterson. She's the creator of the Rhythm of Exchange Collective. Theron coins herself as an astro vibe coach. This journey for her began in 2018 when she was first introduced to divination and astrology. She soon began reading cards for her friends and family members. In 2020, she began taking classes in astrology. She discovered that she likes to help people heal using astrology the way it helped her heal. She takes one-on-one natal chart readings. She also opened a membership community called the Rhythm of Exchange. The rhythm of exchange is how we maintain our sovereignty while community with others. You can read more about Theron on her website, thecosmicjourney.com, and you can follow her on Instagram at The Cosmic Journey. Welcome to the show, Theron.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, April.
I am so thrilled. We are both in the Metaboss collective together.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. And we have this assignment to share and be more open, more honest, and more vulnerable. So thank you for partnering up with me for this assignment.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Mm-hmm. And,
So I want to start with how did you find the Metaboss Collective? And let's even just start there, because that's what brought us together.
Yeah, I know it was IG social media, but I don't know if it's just that she like landing on my For You page, or because no one actually like referred her. So it was just somehow she was in front of me. And so I followed her on IG first. And then I actually had a business plan done with her last year. But I didn't join the collective until latter part of last year. So it was like probably an 8-month gap before I worked with her with the business plan and actually got into the collective.
Yeah, like I don't know how I found her either. It's like an explore feed, and then I'm like, what's she talking about? Astrology and business? I'm like, this is my gal. Yeah. Like no one's doing that. Yeah. So I'm glad the Instagram world brought us together.
Yes, absolutely.
But I'm really excited to just learn more about you because we've done some workshops together. But can you please share your story of what led you to create this heart-led legacy?
Well, so it all started probably back in 2008. And I was doing the math between 2008 and 2016. I was in like an emotional hell. It was like an 8-year stretch, and that was bad relationships, family getting sick, and I'm trying to caregive and trying to run a business because I was a hairstylist. I had a hairstyle. I was a hairstylist and had a salon at the time. Well, early on, and it was like a whole bunch of hats that I was trying to wear, and I was just like getting emotionally beat down, basically. And so after 2016, probably at my low point, because I actually lost my grandmother. And so I'm like trying to deal with grief, and I'm trying to deal with all of that. So I closed my salon. I went and worked in another salon. And even though it was like just, at first I'm like, what am I doing? Am I messing up? Like, what am I doing? And then all of a sudden, like these things started happening. I had an intuitive reading from another client, from someone else's client. She gave me an intuitive reading. She understood, like without knowing me, understood everything I was going through, and was like, it's like almost like it's time for you to come out of this. And I knew that it was time to come out of this. So it was validating. I just didn't know how. You get what I'm saying? I didn't have that path or that direction. Mm-hmm. And so that whole week after her intuitive reading, I was just getting all these messages in my dreams. It just started there. And I'm writing down what I'm getting and looking it up in Google and all this other stuff. And then, so probably like a year or so later, I met another hairstylist, started working in that salon, who happened to become my business partner later on, but she introduced me to tarot, and she introduced me to like astrology pamphlets. And I'm like, give them here, give them here, give them here. And I was like a kid, like, are you going to bring some more tomorrow? Bring some more tomorrow. And so I started like diving into, and I have to say I dove into tarot first. And then I got an astrology reading. And then I started diving into astrology. And what happened, those two things, especially astrology, after that astrology reading, it gave me such self-awareness that I could feel like the healing starting. Like I was opening to understanding like my life and why I was put here and what am I here to work through. And it just gave me like clarity is what happened. And once I figured that out for myself, I'm like, give me your birth time. What is your birthday? What's your birth time? I need to see this for you. And so like, yeah, family, friends, nobody was safe. I was getting all that information for them so I could go from there. So that's how this all started.
So when you say astrology healed you, when you said it started with self-awareness, what was or what were some of the biggest eye openings or aha moments when you learned about your astrology chart?
What I'm here to do is what I'm starting to do now. It showed where I held myself back far as because like there's some people pleasing qualities about me, some codependency about me, and like it showed me that. And then it always shows you like how to move away from that. Like which direction you need to go in to get away from that. And so those are the self-awareness things that kind of like, oh, I don't have to stay like this. Oh, and it's like, okay, I was always interested in astrology, but of course there was some skepticism, right? And then even as I started to kind of dive into it, there were things that come up that didn't relate to me. Like, you're telling me that Jupiter in Pisces is supposed to be so lucky, but I don't see the luck, And so what that made me do was like dig a little deeper. And then I realized like that's internal. You have to vibe to that. You know what I mean? So those things started to like come together, like giving me like what my assignment is on this work. You know what I mean? That's
Oh,
what I mean.
yeah. And I think that was like the biggest lesson that I've learned with working with astrology. It's like, oh, like the stars, the planets, and whatever angle they're at, it's like,
Mm,
this is the assignment. This is who we're supposed to evolve to become.
absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And what was really blowing my mind is when you look on the other side of the chart, like, oh, they're my shadows.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, but on that note, like what are some maybe shadows or low vibes or blocks that you're working on or that you have overcome since
Um,
2008?
I believe it's going to be always a journey. So what I am working on is um, always to maintain my self-esteem, because like in that 8-year period, that's what tanked. It just went down. And so your self-value, my self-esteem, those are things that I constantly work on. And I probably will always work on. Just a different layer of it. Yeah, so definitely that. And to like that self-esteem and your self-value, to know that you're whole no matter what. You don't have to do anything extra. You are whole. That is the part you have to hold on to as you navigate this world. So yeah.
And I love how that's it's so simple.
Mm-hmm.
Like I am whole, you are whole, we are whole, complete, and loved. Like that's like the main thing that we forget in this matrix.
We forget it all the time
It's
because we
like I
look
even
at
put on mascara to feel whole. Do you know what I mean?
absolutely. Absolutely. And society tells us that we're not whole unless we're making enough money, or unless we're, doing a certain job or doing something. That's what makes us valuable. But no, we're valuable as is.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about working on self-worth and self-esteem, what are your favorite modalities or techniques, or what's your method, or what advice would you give to someone who feels low when they're dealing with a
I would
business
say
low or grief that you were talking about?
I did is it was in stages. So at one point I was just writing in a journal, just I needed to write because I found out later on that writing helps you release some of that energy. It's an action, it's like a body movement, you know. But at the time, it was just me like processing my thoughts and like getting them out there. And then I realized like I have a lot of air in my chart. So I like a lot of airy things. So outside, being in nature has two benefits. It gives the grounding of the earth, but like if there's a breeze, if there's something like that, it helps.
Mm.
Like right now, I have an incense going. So some of those things help me ground as well, you know. So I
Mhm.
just had to keep finding things that in different stages of where I was at that would actually speak to me. Like sometimes I go outside let my music play and I dance and I move my body like nobody's watching. But it
Mhm.
like it gets that energy flowing and gets it out of you. And then I overthink and I sit down and I I go back to writing again because I'm overthinking like why did this happen, you know, and I have to like peel back that. So I do all the stages. So I guess I give advice like where are you at now, like what do you feel drawn to, and then we
Mm.
go from there to start there because you don't have to stay there. You always you know changing in different moods and you just want to respect that and honor that.
Yeah, I love that. I guess with working with the Metaboss Collective, my biggest learning is our personal growth equals our professional growth.
Absolutely.
Can you elaborate on that and how you relate to it?
Absolutely. It's like I knew that and she validated that for me because I mentioned I was a hairstylist, but I was also going through this emotional storm, if you will. And I realized that my business had stopped growing and stopped moving
Mm.
because I had this going on in the other side of me and trying to force it because I'm a Capricorn rising. So, you know, you're going to work. And so I kept, I kept trying to like put all my energy in this structure and this business that I built and all this other stuff. But it was never like, it would just do like this bouncing type thing. It would never stay consistent up here because I had so much going on in the background in my emotional space that needed my attention actually.
Mm. Mm. I see. And with that awareness, where are you now? Like what is this spiritual business that you created, or what are you working on now? What's lighting you up? And please talk about this rhythm of exchange.
So first thing, working with Nicolette, it was also a process. And I guess working with her actually helped me heal um, in a personal way because she made me dive back into my chart. So because I started working with everybody else's chart after I got my like, haha, and I started working with everybody else's chart, I didn't go back to mine as often, every once in a while. But she working with her made me go back to my chart. And so there were some things I had to start over with. And so to answer your question, though, what I do still do one-on-ones for natal chart readings. I like the natal chart reading that I do for challenges and blocks because I think that's like the most self-awareness that I be trying to dig out. um, so I do that. And then that's like my primary thing. And then I started the rhythm of exchange. The rhythm of exchange came through with working with Nicolette because I realized how much scarcity mindset that I was drawn to, and understanding that the real abundance that we get is actually in community with other people.
Mm.
And it's like basically it's like I call it the infinite circuit of giving and receiving. Basically is the tagline for
Okay.
rhythm of exchange. But
Yeah.
first you have to work on yourself. So my audience is those who probably are people pleasers, codependents that are really, I feel like they're obligated and wrapped up in the other person. And so that's where the sovereignty comes in. You're getting back your sovereignty, your self-worth, and what have you. And as you do that, you migrate into vibing with people where you can exchange and you can just flow with. And that's really where abundance is. A lot of our social media, just like the money, the money, the money, the money, the money, it's more to that. It's needs that need to be met across the board. And
Mm.
being in a healthy community will get those needs met. So that's the So,
Wow. And I love how it's an online community, right? Is it on Mighty Networks?
yes, it is.
Beautiful. Yeah, and I'll add all the links on the podcast and on the YouTube page. But just I was like leaning in, listening, because I'm like, oh, this is good stuff because I know I have some people pleasing tendencies. I know I have like giving all my energy out, or now like becoming a soulful entrepreneur.
Mhm.
Like, look, I have this offering. Let's exchange money. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So it's like you even expressing the rhythm of exchange. I was leaning in because I was like, oh yes, that giving and receiving,
absolutely.
that flow. And
Absolutely.
on this note, like this is what the Aquarian full moon was all about that just passed.
Hmm.
And so like so your community, this new even mindset of abundance is so on point with the Aquarian full moon that just passed while we're in Leo.
Yeah.
Any aha moments that you want to share?
I'm an Aquarian moon. So,
So what happened?
so even though the full moon wasn't actually on my moon, it still affected the house that my moon is in. And so that is my identity. So it's in like the latter part of my first house. So that is my identity and my persona and all of that. So what came up for me more so in my persona is to validate, like I need to keep validating my uniqueness. Because even how I go about like the abundance and whatever, you don't hear it all the time. And sometimes I can get discouraged, like the way I'm going about it is different from everybody else. So no one is going to listen to me. You get what I mean? So I'll get into
Mhm.
that type of zone. So I have to like validate my uniqueness and my way of, I guess, thinking sometimes and know that eventually it'll catch on. You know what I mean? People get it.
Wow. And I also hear that Aquarian energy is like the innovators, the futuristic. So
Hmm.
and then it being an air sign is the mindset. Is that all correct?
Yes. Hmm.
Wow. So it's yeah, but you also talked about your self-worth. And so it's like the same work is
Uh-huh.
all showing up for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, this has been a joy to connect and chat and hear your
Yes.
story. Um,
Yes.
before we take a break, because I know you want to interview me, so before we take a break, where can
Uh,
our listeners or viewers find you and work with you?
Okay. My website is thecosmicjourney.com and it has like all of my offerings and even the link to the um, Rhythm of Exchange Collective. But if you on Mighty Networks, you can also look up Rhythm Exchange and you'll find me there. IG, I am at the cosmic underscore journey. And then you can find all the information there as well. And there's a link tree there. So if you even get into my IG, you can go to link tree and it tells you shows you everywhere.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
I will put all the links. So until next time, let's share the message, adapt the mindset, live the lifestyle. Let's move with love together.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome back. If you're still with us, thank you for joining us. And now the tables will turn. Theron will interview me with our Metaboss collective conscious community questions.
Awesome.
And yeah, let's go for it.
All right. So, April, I just wanted to extend like this opportunity for you to like let us know about your business and tell us how you started and how did you get onto this journey?
Like now I'm like blushing, like, oh, now it's my turn. Oh my. Um, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, like where do we even start with the story? Let's just say, like, I'll say 2011.
Okay.
I book a one-way ticket from Calgary to Toronto because I thought I wanted to be a rich and famous movie star. I wanted to share stories to inspire other people to evolve to their fullest expression in this lifetime. And then moving to Toronto in my 20s was hell. Let's just say I didn't know how to be an adult. I didn't know how to be in relationships. I was just navigating being in my 20s, being in a big city, and the entertainment industry. So, of
Mm-hmm.
course, my self worth, my health, my mindset, like everything was getting tested. I would escape with alcohol and partying and sex and all the bad, worst behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I look back, I'm like, how am I still alive?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So
Right.
yoga is what helped me feel safe and sane and just feel back, yeah, feeling whole again. And so, like, even though I didn't have a lot of money, I'm like, okay, $25 for this yoga class, because I knew it was like my healthcare. I knew it was a place where I felt safe, where I could cry, where I could just be 100% me. And then I felt inspired to do my yoga teacher training. And I did one in Toronto so they could do a payment plan and I didn't have to fly to Bali or Costa Rica. So I did it here in Toronto. And like, that's where I felt like my biggest spiritual awakening was just showing up, yoga practice, showing up for meditation. I started eating cleaner. I gave up alcohol. I became celibate because I was just exchanging my energy in an unmindful way. And just hard boundaries. And I feel that, yeah, creating new routines for myself, like the self practice, the self love was just getting better, my relationship with myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yoga led me to feel like me again. And then I would do, it's 111. Eastern
It sure
Standard Time.
is.
We're the same time zone.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, angels. Um, yeah, and just like leaning into the numbers, leaning into astrology, my horoscope, self-help books. Like I was just kind of curious and like yearning for more.
Mhm.
And yeah, then I became a full-time yoga teacher, and that was like different kind of yang energy. And then I found Reiki during a restorative yoga class. And I'm like, what is this energy moving through me? And I couldn't Google it. It wasn't making any sense. So I did my Reiki training just because of curiosity.
Mhm.
Reiki 1, 2, and 3. And then, yeah, so I guess that opened my eyes to like the spiritual holistic modalities. Um, I guess becoming a mother was something that really, yeah, becoming pregnant during pandemic was the biggest mind fuck. So I'm gonna just say it. There won't be
Right.
kids listening to this.
Yeah.
So like that really messed me up because the yoga industry closed and my body felt different and my identity as a yoga teacher was out the window.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's like I had to navigate again. And it's like I knew I had to shift how I make money. And so shifting to more the Reiki, but yeah, then I found Nicolette with using astrology to build a business. And that's where it's like you see your natal chart, your astrological natal chart, like a book,
Mm-hmm.
a hand guide. I'm like, oh, this is who I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
I'm meant to share information. I meant to like release the rage. I meant to become a soulful entrepreneur, inspire other women for in this goddess rising. So there's so many layers, but I guess that would be my Virgo rising, my Aries moon, and my Aries sun.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right? So that I
Yeah.
guess that's where I kind of plug that in with the Virgo sharing the information. The Aries moon is a very fiery, full of rage, temper tantrum, inner child that just wants to scream.
Yeah.
Sometimes it comes out as an adult.
Yeah. Hey, yeah.
And then the Aries sun is to be more empowered, strong, leader of self, leader of others, and more of that that entrepreneurial spirit.
So how close are the degrees? Were you almost like a new moon, or the new moon had already passed? Do you know?
With which part of my chart, or what are we
Oh,
talking
the
about?
sun, your sun and moon are both in Aries.
I
Oh,
think
okay.
they're in the same deacon. That's what's crazy. I'm like, oh, in
Okay.
my eighth house. So it's like yeah, with my I think eighth house is collaboration or connection. Um and
It's
then with
also an emotional house because it's normally the house of
mm,
Scorpio. So that I can see where that rage is like internal, and it probably like comes out like in like massive when it does show up. Because but most of the time it bruises, right?
oh my gosh, it definitely came out this weekend. Oh, you're frozen. I hope we could get connection again.
There we go.
You can still hear me? Okay, yeah.
Now I can, yes.
Yeah, and so I'm thinking it was like the full moon, or I don't know. Like I felt like getting to know my chart, I saw a lot of rage.
Uh-huh.
Whether it's the Scorpio stuff, whether it's like the Libra and being too people pleasing, like I saw it a lot. Every time we did different assignments or natal chart workshops, I'm like, there's a lot of rage. I'm like, oh, I feel that. I feel the fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so learning to tame that has been my biggest practice. Embodying patience is my biggest practice in this lifetime. But Sunday night, I'm not gonna lie, I exploded.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, that's, I mean, that's just going to be the one thing that's probably going to be constant. But just remember, there's always like that good trouble, that what they call, what's the term for it? Holy rage, like when you're doing something for justice or something like that. So, you have that too inside of you.
Oh man, yeah, no, I'm like, okay, no, I need to transform and transmute
Yeah.
this rage for passion and
Yeah.
purpose and like
Mhm.
in that direction. So I know that's my personal development to evolve to my professional development.
Yeah, I love, like I said, I love astrology. And one of the things, not to say like when I'm doing my business, I'm like, I don't want to lose astrology. Like I kept trying to figure out like where, and it's in my chart that I would be into astrology as well. But I was like, I don't want to lose it in my business because it's too insightful not to have it. So
It's
yeah.
so insightful. And yeah, like when you're saying, because the more I investigate and get to know my chart, the more I'm like, ooh, when are you born? What
Yep.
do you know your sun, moon, and rising? Like,
Yep.
and it's
Absolutely.
like even witnessing my family, like my husband is Aquarius sun, Gemini moon, Taurus rising.
Hmm.
And so even just knowing that he's a Gemini moon, I'm like, oh, interesting. Like,
Yeah.
and then I have a daughter who's a Gemini. I'm like, oh, interesting.
Oh yeah.
So just witnessing the energies come through in these physical vessels, it's like, oh, it's like humans are so complex.
Yep. So yeah. So what is the right now? Like, where is your heart leading you now in your business?
Mm. Yeah, like this Move with Love podcast is something that just is kind of like a little passion project,
Okay.
like interviewing like a spiritual entrepreneur such as yourself, like to move with love and not fear
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
it's became a mantra, it's a mindset, a lifestyle. And yeah, like as I was branding this, I'm like, I think I'm the one that actually needs to remember this.
Hmm.
So I have the Move with Love podcast just to create interviews and awareness and sharing stories of people moving with love versus fear. But I also created the Move with Love community just to be a little hub of whether it's the network of who I interview, or that's where I have some new moon gatherings, whether it's online or offline,
Okay.
of intention setting or restorative yoga and Reiki, just to like kind of tune into the cycle of the moon, but basically just tune into whoever feels the call.
Hmm.
And yeah, like yoga is still a part of my life. And so I teach that regularly. And my Reiki one-on-one stuff is they're very individual, but just witnessing the transformation from the beginning to the end, it's like you just see them feel lighter.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
know so it's I'm still crafting the business, but I guess that's
Oh
all
yeah.
stuff that lights me up
Yes,
you
absolutely.
know
So what did the full moon do for you then? Or this
Mm.
full moon?
Oh my. Okay, so I like leading. Oh, I'm really like with relationships
Okay.
was something that really came up. And I think I'm looking at some of the topics. I'm like, yeah, control issue. I
Hmm.
think like being a high performing individual my whole life, or Aries sun, Aries moon, running the show, when there's a relationship that doesn't go my way, it's like it can be frustrating. It
Yeah.
can be all the triggers, be like,
Absolutely.
and wanting to control it is like my big, I'm like scratching because it's like, okay, I have no control over that soul.
Right, right.
And when I say soul, I'm saying my husband.
Who's the Aquarius, right?
Who's the Aquarius?
Exactly.
And it's so funny because I'm like, oh, Aquarius sun and the full moon Aquarius. I'm like, it's going to be a tough day. And I didn't know I would be the one causing the tough day. So
Yep.
what lit up was my control issues in relationships. To release that, I'm understanding the giving and receiving. And giving and receiving a way that, yeah, not just a win-win, but even understanding how the other person is receiving me, how
Okay.
the other person, because I thought I was showing up. I thought I was being the best wife, the best partner that I could be. But when he would say or point stuff out and make me, the perfectionist in me be like, what, me?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess I was able to witness that, yeah, I was a bit blinded.
Mhm.
I was blinded by my own goals. I was blinded by being a mother. I was blinded by, and I'm currently pregnant, so I'm also growing a human.
Oh, congratulations.
Oh, thank you. So I could witness myself like, oh yeah, I was blinded. I didn't give in a way that he was hoping to receive me.
I
So I
get
guess that
that.
was my biggest learning was I'm like, okay, like I could be giving the way I think or feel is serving the big picture. But
Mm.
when I was called out, I'm like, oh, I did have some areas of opportunity that I can improve on to be a
Gotcha.
better partner. So the blinders came off. It is a different awareness. And yeah, so now that I have the lesson, the tricky part is embodying it. The tricky part is bringing all that
Integrate it. Mhm.
new, yeah, integrate a
Mhm.
new way of being, seeing, giving, and receiving.
Mm. Okay.
Oh.
That was great. Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you for sharing. Um, this is a great conversation because I like to learn off of people. So like when I listen to you, I was like, okay, I get that. I see that in me too. I see that, I like that. So thank you for this exchange.
What insights came through this exchange?
How the control, not for myself, like how you do. I think everybody tries to control the relationships they're in some way, shape, or form. And you have to be
Mm.
called out to say, no, you can't control me. You control yourself, but you can't control how I take things or how I receive things and all that. So yeah, I was hearing that in my other ear over here while you were talking. Like, yeah.
Oh man, and are you a consultant or what's your main business model?
Retreat. I'm a
Okay,
retreat.
nice.
So I'm
Wonderful.
supposed to take people out of the matrix long enough for them to, I guess, see themselves and chill,
Mm.
So that's kind of hard because I had to like keep put myself in a sense like, okay, I feel like I am a safe space, but the fact that I had how I have to call people in is kind of, I don't know. I'm working on that part. I'm working on that part
Mm-hmm.
with Nicolette. I'm working on that part.
I see.
What is yours? What is your
It's well, the rising's a consultant, but the moon and sun are motivation.
gotcha?
And so I guess even with my relationship, I was like being the motivation. I was being like when this astrology stuff and
Hmm.
some stuff, I'm like, I was like doing this and pointing fingers to my husband. And he was like, I don't need a coach, I just need a wife. I'm like, okay.
Oh, yeah,
Putting
I get
myself in
that.
my place. I'm like, okay, so I gotta just be the safe space that you're talking about. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes, yeah, we don't even need the advice we just don't need to be seen and heard.
Right. You asked me, I didn't finish, I guess, because you told me all three of yours. My um sun sign is Libra, rising sign is Capricorn, so both of those are retreat. And
Hmm.
then my Aquarius moon is the motivation.
Ah,
So I get the motivation. So maybe
there
that's
we
why when you said,
go.
I'm like, I get that control part. Yeah.
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 So it's but I think separating, I don't know, like I guess separating the professional brain and the personal brain.
Absolutely.
but that personal growth equals professional growth. So he's still trying to grasp this concept. But
Absolutely.
anything else? Anything you want to ask or share?
No, this was great. I've totally enjoyed this. So thank you again. I could keep saying
Wow.
thank you because this
Yeah.
is great. This is great.
What
And
a joy.
it
Well,
was a
thank you
joy.
again.
Mhm.
I'm sure we'll cross paths again,
Oh,
or
absolutely.
because these exchanges just light me up. And
Yes.
I look forward to talking to you again.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, take
Uh,
care.
all right. You too. Thank you, April.
Bye.
Bye bye.